You know, I've never been this close to the outside. I mean, look how dark it is. Can't be any worse out there. Can it?
Hey, what's up, fellow gamers? It's BC from Alloy 7 Video with my category review for Naughty Dog's The Last of Us. And watching clips from The Last of Us had pretty much prepared me to critique this game for focusing too heavily on narrative and ultimately delivering a game that wasn't fun to play. And that was mainly because I had assumed Naughty Dog and Sony would forget they were making a game, vice an interactive movie. Fortunately, The Last of Us open hand smacked me in the mouth for even considering making such a ridiculous claim. So the bottom line up front here is that much like Halo and Metal Gear Solid, The Last of Us is a game that defines a generation. Not just a console generation, but an entire generation of gamers. For decades to come, we'll be comparing future games to what The Last of Us has accomplished here. It's a shining example of what game developers and publishers can deliver when all necessary encumbrances are removed. If you haven't played it and you don't have a serious aversion to ultraviolence, plan to do so. If you're like me and don't own a PS3, go borrow one from a friend. Shouts out to my man Trevor for lending me his. With all the praise in mind, let's talk about what categories of gamers will be affected the most by the Last of Us experience.
Man.
Hey, what happened to sleeping?
Okay, I know it doesn't look like it, but this here is not a bad read. Only one
Bookworms.
problem.
Ellie and Joel's story is not one I will soon be able to forget. The Last of Us is, of course, well written, told, and acted. And as a father myself, I could completely relate to the decisions that Joel makes throughout the game. Also, Ellie's reaction to the world around her and her constant questioning and curiosity about the world before her time really helps to ground you in the harsh reality set before you in the game. There are, of course, conclusions throughout the game that will polarize fans, but no matter what our opinions of the narrative direction, I don't think anyone can argue that the overall storyline and character interaction is quite honestly one of the best in gaming or maybe even entertainment history. On a purely subjective note, The Last of Us is easily one of the best stories I've encountered as a gamer, period. It's rare when a game's story can actually make me feel something. The Last of Us took me from holding back tears to laughing out loud at the excellent banter between the characters.
Hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together?
Action junkies. As I stated before, I had wrongly assumed that The Last of Us would be an interactive movie with clumsy mechanics and lacking game elements. While the interface does take some time to master, once you do, the fun factor and intensity perpetually climb as you play through the game. The combat is brutally intimate. You won't spend much time shooting enemies from a distance and then forgetting about the encounter seconds after the last shot fired. You'll be fist fighting, breaking enemies' heads open with metal pipes, and smashing their skulls in with the heels of your boots. I don't know if I've played another game to date where the fighting is this in your face. And while The Last of Us is viciously violent, I want to applaud Naughty Dog for giving us a game that gives purpose to the violence and holds the characters accountable for their violent actions. Well done, good people. Strategists. The tactical elements of the game serve only to enhance the action. You can't run through many situations with fists, pipes, or guns blazing. You have to be smart and outwit your enemies equally as well as you'll need to outfight them once your battles begin. Resources are scarce, so you'll need to put some heavy thought into how you'll take a particular group of enemies down. Use up all your ammo on a lesser foe, and you may struggle later when you really need it. Builders. Gamers who like to level and develop characters will find a good bit to love with The Last of Us. The game houses a leveling system that allows you to increase Joel's stamina and abilities through finding and applying medicine to the various skills on his skill tree. The game also houses a unique crafting system that allows you to create and augment your weapons and equipment in a very practical and satisfying way. Explorers. While The Last of Us is a mostly linear game, I was surprised to see just how open and engaging many of the areas were. Walking through the city streets and suburban housing developments allows you a decent amount of freedom to scavenge for supplies. This was one of the core gameplay mechanics that made me fall in love with the game. Looking around just one more corner to find the items necessary to increase Joel's abilities was extremely satisfying.
I thought you had plenty of food in your time.
Well, we did. Some just chose not to eat it.
Visualists. It goes without saying that The Last of Us is a visual marvel from the technical perspective. What I found most excellent about the visuals was how Naughty Dog built a lush and beautiful world to serve as the backdrop to such a dark and horrific story. The luscious green trees that grow up through the buildings and asphalt were a great metaphor for the humans who endured and survived despite all the death and decay around them. Audio files. Naughty Dog didn't add a ton of music to supplement the gameplay, and it was absolutely the right move. The sections of the game that do have music were handled brilliantly with a beautiful and appropriate score. That said, where The Last of Us really shines is in the voice acting and sound effects department. When you hit an enemy in the head with a metal pipe, the sound is so real that it's jarring. It really gave weight to the violence I was committing such that I could actually feel what I was doing. On top of that, you have Joel and Ellie's interaction brought to life by Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who did a wonderful job selling the highly emotional scenes throughout the game.
We are going our separate ways.
Get it together.
In the end, The Last of Us is a gaming masterpiece, one that's going to force you to deal with the question, is humanity worth saving? And I believe they did an excellent job in the confines of this narrative of answering that very question. It's arguably the best game I've played this generation, and most certainly one of the greatest games I've played in my entire gaming life. If you can stomach the violence, this is one game that you cannot afford to miss. Alrighty, right, good people, that's going to do it for this category review of Naughty Dog's The Last of Us. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know it's been a long time since I've brought you guys one of our patented category reviews, and I promise it will not be as long as it was this time to the next one. Be on the lookout for the Ni no Kuni review that I'm currently working my way through as I am recording this. As always, please leave us a like and a subscribe, and most importantly, leave us some commentary. There's so much in this video review that I'm not able to go into because it would have been an hour long, and I really want this video to spawn some really good conversation amongst you, my fellow gamers out there. So with that said, I'm going to wish you guys peace and Godspeed, and we'll see you on the next Alloy 7 video.
Alloy 7.